Well, welcome everybody to another Wine Time Yakima. We're at the Yakima Visitor Center again this week, and we want to say a very big thank you to them for hosting us in their really wonderful facility. And this week, it's wine time with a twist, because we're not having a glass of wine, we're having a cup of tea, because we are joined by Sheriff Bob Udell. Bob, it's so good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Now, we've chosen a vanilla-flavored black tea from Titan Teas to share today.
And it is very tasty.
It is very tasty.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a little bit different than drinking a cab at 10 o'clock in the morning.
It is.
Which
it
we
is.
really don't want to do. Well, Bob, great to see you. So, you've been 32 years with the Yakima County Sheriff's Office.
Actually, I'm on my 36th.
Even longer?
Yeah, so even longer. I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, I'm a native of Yakima County. I grew up here. My family's been here since the 1890s.
Oh, really?
So our roots go very, very deep here in Yakima. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's been a great opportunity. I've loved this career. Yeah. I really have. There's been very few bad days.
And how long as the sheriff?
As the sheriff, I'm in my 7th year.
Well, that's a long time too. So when you were a little kid here in Yakima running around, what did you want to be? Did you want to be the sheriff? Was that always your goal?
No, that wasn't my thing at all. You know, it's funny, I love to draw, and I was always going to be an architect. That was my thing, or an engineer, and I went to WSU, and I got over there, and I was in the architecture program, but all my buddies came from farms, just like I did. My family's been in apple growing for forever, and I decided, you know what, I'll just go back to the farm and farm with my dad. Which turned out to not be the brightest decision of my life. So it only lasted about 7 years working for my dad.
For what reason?
And family farms can be great or they can be tough. And I like to say that I saved our relationship when I went to the sheriff's office. And then it was great for us. But working together was really, really difficult. And so I really enjoyed it. You know, being a deputy law enforcement officer has been an incredible opportunity to meet people and to help people. You know, it's not all just driving fast and arresting bad guys. The majority of it actually is just helping. It's been good.
But that's still quite a trek. Architecture, farming, sheriff.
Oh, it's tremendous. You know, and then when I went back to farm, then it didn't take me very long to realize that, you know, I could have farmed with an architecture degree, but I can't be an architect with a farming degree.
Gotcha.
So, when you make your choices at 19 to 20, but it all turned out great. In the end, this has been a great career.
Well, it clearly has, absolutely. So what was the spark? What was it said, I want to get into law enforcement, this is what I want to do? What was that final trigger?
When I was working on the farm, I was part of the local fire department. I was even the volunteer chief for a couple of years. And that was a lot of fun. And when it became obvious that farming was probably not going to be my permanent track, I had buddies that were cops. And they said, well, why don't you give that a shot? I thought, well, why not? That seems kind of fun, right? You know, it wasn't something that when I was 5 years old, running around the house in a blue uniform or a green shirt. I thought, let's try it. And that was, a long time ago. And it's been good.
And it's really worked out.
It has.
7 years as sheriff, that's quite a long stint.
It is. It's been good. It's been a different challenge than working patrol and that sort of thing. Much different. It's not as much fun as working patrol, but it's a lot greater opportunity to make positive change.
Well, you describe it as fun in a way, but I mean, it's a very serious business and you're dealing with things every day that are very actually traumatic as well as very difficult.
It is. I read something the other day that said that the average person experiences like 1 to 3 traumatic events in their life. That a police officer, though, on the other hand, can experience up to 800 in their career. And so it is tough. And when I started, it really was. If you were involved in a shooting or something really bad happened, the sergeant would come along and say, hey, you got other calls. You know, move on, get back to work. And I don't think that was good for a lot of us. It was too hard. And now we do a lot better job with making sure that people have time off if they're in those kind of things. They get counseling or help, right? They debrief, all these things that we've learned that makes the career a lot better. And so when someone retires, they're a lot better shape than after 20 to 30 years of dealing with tragedies every day.
And it must take a toll, though. I mean, regardless of the support that's there, you're dealing with really tragic situations and sometimes very scary situations in other, and that's got to impact you as a human being.
Oh, absolutely. I can think of being at 2 o'clock in the morning and sitting in your car totally bored because you don't see anything, no one's moving, and then 4 minutes later you're terrified because you're involved in something that's that wild. So you go from 0 to 100, and it happens sometimes many times during a shift. It's successful law enforcement officers, I think, use a lot of humor to get through it, and other tactics, to make sure that it doesn't become part of who they are. Because we do see things that people should not see. That's just the way it is. And what we see in real life is not like on TV. Car wrecks are not like you see on TV. These things are not, they're just not good. But somebody has to do it, and we hire the right people to do it. That's the best part. The people who work for the sheriff's office are there. They're not there for glory, but they're there for the right reason.
And you cover such a wide area as well. I mean, everything basically that's outside any of the cities is
it's
your
a big county.
Yeah, huge in terms of geography.
Absolutely. This Yakima County is 4,300 square miles. At least 260,000 people. Over 100 of those people are, 1,000 of those people are our direct responsibility. And we do it right now with only 62 deputies. And that's counting me. So we have traditionally been, at least in the last 15 years, one of the smaller sheriff's offices in deputies to population in the state. But we're in the second largest county. And we have some issues. We have some crime rates that are above state average, which means we're busy. We do a lot. I've had other sheriffs actually say to me that they can't believe what we get done with the resources we have.
Well, I think that's a big concern for the people who live here. I mean, certainly in some of the smaller cities, there is virtually no police force, even though there is officially a police force, and therefore your team are really covering a lot of that area as well.
You're informed. You're absolutely right. You're right.
It's a secret, but I work in news. Don't tell anybody.
There are several smaller agencies that rely on us to handle major crimes. Sometimes even staffing and taking calls when they're not there.
Right.
And so that's an additional burden on our agency as well.
And how do you avoid, therefore, burnout for your deputies who I'm sure come with the same enthusiasm that you did when you first got into it, but realize that it takes a toll on them every single day?
Yeah, it does. A lot of the things that we've learned as far as is engaging with each other and the debriefing after instances and that kind of stuff have really helped. We have some support systems that I didn't have way back in the old day, and I watch guys burn out hard. And so we're making sure that if a guy or one of our guys or gals shows signs of a little too much, we're able to pull them back. We've even sent people to out of state to get a little time away, right, to gain tools to deal with it, because it is a big deal. I had a deputy that worked for us, and then he didn't, and then he came back, and he had some issues with some of the stress and pressures. And what's interesting is he was a Marine, and he'd seen a lot of stuff, right, a lot of heavy combat overseas, and so I naturally assumed that that's where a lot of the issues were coming from. He said, "No, Sheriff." He says, "When I flew away from Afghanistan, I knew it was gone. Right? I knew it was over." But he said, "When you're a police officer, it's every day. You can't really get away from it." So we're much better at mental health and stress relief and that sort of thing. We can be better, but at least now we recognize it. In the old days, no cop would go up to a sergeant and say, "Yeah, I don't feel good about what I saw today." You'd be labeled.
I can believe it.
And today it's different. Still hard because cops like to think of themselves as tough, right, and beyond reproach, but everyone needs help.
And how do you deal with it in your personal life? I mean, I don't know. Are you married? Do you have children, etc.?
Yeah, I'm married. We have 4 daughters, but they're all gone. Right? They've moved.
So you're in the grandkids business now?
No, and my wife's not happy about that because they're 4 daughters and no grandkids. So
there's plenty of time.
Hopefully, yeah. That's kind of her big rub right now. No grandkids. We on our time, we spend a lot of time on a motorcycle. We travel around, do that sort of thing. I love to drive and just get out of the county.
But the toll that it must take on them. I mean, your wife is never knowing what's going on in your work life, etc. That must be very stressful for her. It's very stressful for your children, particularly when they were younger.
And they told me that.
Yeah.
I would leave for work, and she would get especially upset if she didn't hear from me for a while, and she would call often just to make sure I was okay, and they wouldn't know. We haven't had a death on duty in the sheriff's office since the 40s, though we had a deputy that was severely wounded 2 years ago. Yes. And he was ambushed. And that was tough. We had to go get his wife and bring her to the hospital. And I was called at home, and it turned out okay. He's not able to return to police work, which is a huge disappointment to him and to the agency. He's a great guy. But it wasn't, the worst outcome. And I can't even imagine what it'd be like, especially for a spouse, to wonder at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe to even see on the news that there's been a shooting and not know, if your husband or wife was involved or not. Big deal.
Oh, very big deal. Absolutely.
Not many professions have their customers try to kill them every so often.
Try working in news. No, that's a really good point. I mean, that's something that I think the public don't necessarily recognize, is the toll that it takes on your families, on your private life, where all you're really doing is just trying to protect the community. But it's a dangerous situation quite often.
It is. And what we see is, again, it's what people shouldn't see all the time. The guys and gals, they develop tactics. I was big into humor. Everyone's got their way to make sure that it doesn't become part of who you are. But I've seen guys and gals that have had to leave because of it. And that's okay, because it's brutal. It really is. Like I mentioned, it's not like on a TV movie. It's different.
Well, obviously, you may have worked out, I'm not from this part of the world. I grew up somewhere else entirely. But I had a very different impression of what the sheriffs did compared to like police force through TV. And because, we watched all the stuff like The Virginian and Bonanza and all of that stuff. And I thought of the sheriff as somebody who rode into town on the horse. So I didn't even know that really sheriffs still existed. I know it sounds incredibly silly and naive, but that's not just something we knew. We just saw that the cops in their black and white cars dealt with everything these
exactly,
days.
And the sheriff was right.
But when you're out in the rural areas of America and outside of the city centers, it's a very different story.
It is very different. And even though we go to the same police academy, we're trained the same, once we come back to either a sheriff's office or a PD, the job does become different. Deputies are out there often by themselves. Big county, so you might have a deputy show up. I know I've been in situations where I know my backup is probably 15 to 20 minutes away, and they're going fast. So you have to learn to talk to people, to deal with situations, know when to engage, when not to engage. When you work in a PD, especially a bigger one, sometimes you got 4 people going to deal with an issue. We often don't have that luxury. The guys and gals are better today. The sheriff's office will wait. They don't go rushing in. I think of a lot of the things that we used to do, charging into houses, everything by ourselves, and then later over a pop or a coffee, laugh about, oh, that could have gone poorly. It's completely much better. They look out for each other much better. Officer safety is a bigger deal. It was a thing back then, but now it's just become part of the culture, keeping each other safe.
And do you think you've personally been able to change that? I mean, is the new culture, the culture that exists right now, is that really something that you've really worked on? Because you've mentioned humor a few times. And whenever we interview you, and like today, there's always a sense of humor that you bring to everything you do, which I think is very powerful.
I hope so. And if you were to come into our office, you would see that it is pretty lighthearted. And even our staff meetings and squad meetings, that sort of thing, the guys and the gals they're very, very easygoing, but when it's time to go to work, they do. And I love that about that they're able to keep that lightheartedness. But then when it gets serious, it's amazing what they do. We have some young men and women now that are amazingly tactically minded. They know how to deal with people, which means there's less injuries, right, for both officers and for the suspects. They do great stuff.
Which is amazing.
It is. And so it hurts. You see on TV where a police officer, law enforcement officer does something bad, that kind of hurts, because that's not the rule. It's the exception. But then sometimes it gets painted as, oh, geez, there's cops, look what they're doing again. That's not the case. Not the case at all. The vast majority of them are doing the best they can for the right reasons.
Well, again, I think it's that human connection. It is the fact that people often forget that law enforcement are human beings and they have all the frailties that every human being has, no matter how well they're trained.
Yeah. That's funny. You just touched on kind of like a little hot button for me because, you know, when I hear people say, well, you know, the cops, they're like like we're a bunch of robots that were made in a factory somewhere and we're spit out with no senses of humor and we're just going to go out and do our thing. No, they teach Little League in your communities. They shop at the same stores. They're people. That's just their job. That's what they do. And they are really no different than anybody else. And they take a lot of crap out there. A lot. But what's neat about it is with the body cams that we're wearing, you get to see a lot of this stuff. And twice I've had gals that they look through our video and they have to redact it before it's sent to the prosecutor's office or public records request. Like when you folks ask for some video, they got to make sure that there's certain rules, right? No kids, all these different things have to be taken out. And again, both of them, unprompted, have told me very interestingly, they said, you know, Sheriff, we've looked at hours, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of deputies doing their job. Not once did we see them being unprofessional. Been spit on, kicked, punched, screamed at, and yet the responses are always within bounds. And that says a lot about who's out there keeping it safe.
Oh, huge. I mean, restraint must be one of the biggest things that you have to learn.
Now, we have to circle back. They're human. They're human.
Absolutely.
And they're not always going to be perfect, but to watch that kind of professionalism is pretty cool. It really is.
Now, you mentioned that you're a motorcyclist.
I am.
Now, do you travel around beyond Washington, beyond the county lines?
Yeah, my wife and I have toured on our motorcycle as far as Texas, Oklahoma, the Dakotas. Wow. We've been all over the Western United States.
Or you have one,
she rides
like
on back.
Oh,
yep,
cool.
She rides on the back, and it's another great stress reliever. You know, you just get out and ride around. I think the only time that it wasn't when I was running for election round one, and I left after the primary, and I couldn't get it out of my helmet. Even riding down the road, right? All I could think about was that election and what should I be doing here and what should I be doing there. It was a lot, but otherwise it's great.
Oh, I love road trips. I think they're fantastic. But
I do too.
I haven't done a motorcycle trip. Maybe that's something I should do in my future.
It's a great way to travel. Obviously it's more dangerous, and at the end of the day, as opposed to being in a car or pickup, something like that, SUV, you're tired because you realize there's people out there trying to kill you on the motorcycle. So you got to be on your toes. But it's a remarkable way to travel.
Are you a bit of a danger junkie, maybe?
Most cops probably are.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think they enjoy that a little bit. I think that's why they do it. You know, when you've seen the videos of us running into gunshots and people are running away, and sometimes it defies logic. You know, but they do it. You know, we've all done it, and it's an intense feeling. I'll give you that. When I've never been so scared in my life as on the job. And then you get together with your buddies and ho 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 ho. You know that you talk about it, but it's a way of dealing with it.
And it's the same for when you travel. I mean, I can't imagine you somehow just sitting on the deck of a cruise ship being bored. That just doesn't strike me as being you.
You know, that doesn't appeal to me either. You're right. It doesn't. I want to move. And luckily, my wife likes to do the same thing.
Cool.
She enjoys being on the back of that motorcycle. She'll squawk sometimes. It's kind of windy, or is this the shortest way there? Which it generally isn't, right?
Well, when you got the grandkids coming, then you can have the sidecar.
Oh yeah, we can pack them in the sidecars. Well, yeah, that'll be the big deal when that happens. Yeah. But until then, we'll keep riding around.
And for the future, you're going to stick around? You're going to be the sheriff for a while longer, you think?
I think this is my last term.
Oh, really?
This is going to be my last term. I've been doing it for a long time. And I think it's healthy for the organization to have the youth continuing these young thoughts moving up into the admin and the leadership. We have some amazingly sharp people working for us, and they are ready to lead. They have their own ideas. I think the sheriff's office is just going to keep getting better. I really do. We've been always constricted by a lack of resources and people, but they generally do a pretty dang good job. We're not always going to hit the mark because of that resource issue, but we have a culture now. If we're there, we're going to do the right thing.
And
May take us 3 hours to get there, but when we get there,
you got there.
That's right. We get there. We are going to do what we can to solve the issue.
So what does retirement look like for the sheriff?
Boy, I don't know.
That's hard to imagine.
That is hard. I don't. It's. I've been doing this a long time. I've been involved as sheriff. You're also very, very screwed into the politics. You can't get away from that. The sheriff is a partisan position in this state, but once you become sheriff, you really can't be that partisan.
Right.
You're the sheriff for everybody. And that's been a great challenge. Sometimes I know that I'm on the right track if people from both ends are not happy. Then I'm thinking, okay, I must be doing something about right. A lot of times, most of the time, I make my decisions on what we do as far as practical reasons. What can we enforce? What can't we enforce? Really, what works for us? It's tough dealing with rules and laws that come out of Olympia that sometimes don't fit our community or fit the way we have to police. And so we have to navigate those waters. It probably affects me a lot more than the younger guys and gals out there working. They've never known anything different.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because policing has changed so much in the last 60 years. It's nothing short of incredible. I remember being a brand new deputy and listening to our veteran sergeants talking about the good old days. Don't do this, because if you do, you're going to get arrested or fired. Well, now, 30 years later from now, I can tell the young guys, yeah, man, I remember we used to be able to do all these things. We can't do those. You got to get arrested or get fired. It's changed. So I've watched this steady, incredible progression of law enforcement getting more and more professional. And yet the demands and the criticism
changes.
Yeah. And gets much more
Much
intense.
louder, I'm sure.
Yeah, much louder. With the media, social media is that instant. We were talking about that before the camera started. The people want their information now. And so there's a lack of verification sometimes, that what's out there flying around. But the women and men of law enforcement today, they understand that, and they do pretty good.
I think they do too. I mean, I think you're a real icon of our community, and I think if you're not here, that's going to be a big change for Yakima.
Well, I'll probably still be here. We'll see what role I play.
Okay.
But I'll be around.
Well, that would be good to know.
Yeah.
So how's your tea?
The tea,
quite nice, actually.
The tea actually was great. Yeah. I'm not even much of a tea drinker. My wife loves tea, but this is,
It's nice. Got a nice
this is
flavor
very
to it.
good.
This is from Titan Teas. Well, Sheriff, we'll just wrap up with some either-or questions, as we always do, to round out.
All right.
Now, I don't know why I'm asking this one. So what you choose, talking or listening?
I love to talk. I think everyone around me say to talk, but I also love to listen.
Okay.
So yeah.
50-50 maybe.
It's kind of maybe a 50-50. Listening's, I don't like, my staff knows I don't like being wrong, which means I like to listen. Okay. I want to hear everything before I make a choice. Yeah, I do like to talk.
That's good. We have noticed. Okay, and what's your favorite music?
Rock and roll from the 80s. It's my era.
Okay. Any bands in particular?
Oh, I will listen to anything from AC/DC to U2, all that kind of stuff. My favorite band of all time be the Eagles.
Oh, right, yeah.
I remember when I was 16 years old and my dad gave me a tape deck for my little pickup. And with that tape deck, he gave me a cassette, the Eagles. And I'm really dying to get down to the Sphere in Las Vegas and watch them play.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next. What's the last live band you saw?
The last live band. Oh, I know there's one before, but Michael McDonald and Boz Scaggs we watched down at the Maryhill.
Yeah. Right
before they shut that venue down, and that was incredible. Yeah, it was funny because my wife found it and said, "We're going to go see these guys." She goes, "I don't know who they are, but we're going to go see them." I said, "Oh, you'll know every song." I said, "Trust me, you will know them." And she did. And it was kind of funny because the audience looked like you and me. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of young people there, but the music.
Excuse me, I'm 39.
Me too. Place work is hard.
Yeah. Well, the Eagles in Vegas would be great. So what's your choice, hanging out with little kids or old folks?
Little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be my choice too.
Absolutely. When I see people talking about moving into retirement communities, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. I like to move, and I've noticed that even through my entire life, my friends tend to be younger than me. Mm-hmm. And maybe that kind of cues in with a birthday card I got once from a buddy. I think I was turned 50, and he says, you're only young once, but you can be immature forever. Went, yeah,
that's a good maxim.
It is. I said, perfect. I like that one.
I'll have to remember that one.
Yeah.
And finally, do you prefer predictability or excitement?
I like excitement.
I would have thought that was.
Yeah. Motorcycle trips, I love to just wing it. Just get on the bike and see where we land today and see where we're going to stay. Drives my wife nuts. And we've burned a couple times. You roll into town and like went into Casper one time, and it was rodeo weekend, and there was nothing. And I remember even then thinking to myself, maybe this wasn't the best idea. But it adds excitement, doesn't it? That's right.
How much grief did she give you?
Quite a bit. She's actually the one that finally found a hotel where we had a great time. A little tiny hotel outside of town in a place called, not Gray Rock, something like that, where she lived for like 3 or 4 years as a kid with her parents. So it all worked out.
Well, Sheriff, it's been great to meet with you. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for the
today.
invitation.
No, it's always good to see you. And thank you for keeping us safe. And thank you for all the work that the Sheriff's Office
It's been
do.
a pleasure doing what I can for Yakima County.
Well, we appreciate it.
It's been awesome.
And I want to say a big thank you to the Yakima Visitor Center for hosting us again today. It's a really wonderful facility, and we always like being here. Join us again for another Yakima Wine Time, or Wine Time Yakima. Did I get that right? That's a 7th.
Or tea.
Tea. It's tea this week. At 7 o'clock every Saturday night. And if you'd like to suggest a guest for a future episode, you can just email us at tips@kimatv.com. But join us again for another Wine Time Yakima very soon. Sheriff, thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's been good.